one in John 5, the Gospel of John 5, describing a miracle that took place here during the time of Jesus' ministry to the Jews. And so this is what it reads.
What verse? I'm sorry.
Verse 1 and following. Okay, you can follow along in your own Bible if you have one. Somebody's having too much fun there.
John 5:1.
Okay, John 5:1. And so we're going to read the passage here, and then I'm going to show you to the remains of that water reservoir, this pool that is mentioned here, all right? And so after these things, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porticos. By the way, Bethesda is Hebrew for the house of grace. In these lay a multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, and withered, waiting for the moving of the waters. For an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever then first, after the stirring up of the water, stepped in, was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. A man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Do you wish to get well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I'm coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk." Immediately the man became well, and picked up his pallet and began to walk. Now it was the Sabbath on that day. So the Jews were saying to the man who was cured, "It is the Sabbath. It is not permissible for you to carry your pallet." But he answered them, "He who made me well was the one who said to me, 'Pick up your pallet and walk.'"
Amen.
Okay? And so soon I'm going to show you to what's left of that pool. In fact, back in the day, it was one of the largest water reservoirs in Jerusalem. According to an archaeological survey, it's been estimated that the pool contained approximately 60 million gallons of water. That's a lot of water, okay? So nowadays there's just, fragments of that pool, but that was part of the ancient water system of the city of Jerusalem. Now, a couple of things. First of all, let me ask you a question. Did that man answer to Jesus' question?
No.
Did he give him a direct answer?
No.
It's a yes and no question, right? Jesus asked him, "Do you wish to get well?" What was his reply?
I could only get the water.
Why do you think that? Why do you think he didn't answer directly?
He thought he was asking him, "You need
They
help
really
getting in the
wanted to
water?"
get well.
My feeling is that he didn't even consider Jesus as an option. I mean, he was focused on the pool, okay? As far as he was concerned, that was the key for his problem, solving his problem. And Jesus was there, the only one who could actually help him, yet he wouldn't even consider him. Perhaps he didn't even look at Jesus, He was constantly looking at the water to see whether or not it was going to be stirred up. And I think this is, in a way, the world still treats Jesus. Jesus is the only solution, to problems. And yet people are searching everywhere but Jesus, okay? And so this is one thing that I wanted to point out. The other thing is the day. Do you think that it escaped Jesus' notice that it was the day of Sabbath?
No.
In fact, I think he did it on purpose. There are quite a few miracles that are said to have happened on the day of Sabbath. You remember that Jesus, by doing that, by performing those miracles on the day of Sabbath, revealed the hypocrisy, okay, of the Pharisees and the scribes. Just think about that for a moment. There's a man who's lying there here for 38 years. Everyone knew him, He spent almost his entire life here. And instead of welcoming him and rejoicing with him, what do they say? "It is not permissible for you, according to our regulations, that you should pick up this pallet and walk." Okay? This really goes to show to what level, okay, this religiosity, brought those people to, that they had no compassion to the man, okay? And of course, this coincides with a few other parables of Jesus, like the one about the Good Samaritan, right? A man who was walking, and the priest and Levite could care less. They were just walking there, They didn't even look at him. They were too busy with their own things and their own regulations and their own deeds, and they failed to do the most basic thing, right, which is love your neighbor as you love yourself, right? And so this happened right here in this location. At the time, it would have been north of where the second temple was at. And I want to show you what's left of that pool. It's over there on that side.
So we're not going to go to the bus? Let's see. Go.
Hey, come on. If you're gonna walk, you have to be fast.
Okay. So this is where the pool was at, on that side. And just a very quick description of that pool in the 1st century AD. It was so big that they had to divide it up into 2 separate pools. In fact, what you see there, the wall on that side, was the dike separating between the southern side of the pool on this side, okay, and the northern side of the pool on the other side of the dike. Over here you see fragments of a number of structures, the oldest of which is a pagan temple that was built by the pagan Romans in honor of Asclepius, okay, the god of healing. Okay, so there were even pagan Romans who worshipped here and believed that this water had healing virtues. And you see the lower level there, okay, something that looks like an apse. That was part of that pagan site. On a higher level, okay, above that, you see pillars with crosses on them. What would that suggest? Not Crusader? Well, it could be Crusader. Byzantine, okay? And so this dates back to the 4th and 5th centuries AD, at a time when the Roman Empire became Christian, and a big basilica was built here over the ruins of the pagan temple to remember that miracle. That basilica was destroyed, and then later on, when the Crusaders came here, remember they captured Jerusalem in the year 1099 AD, they built 2 churches. The first church that they built was this one over there, a small church. You see the chapel over the dike to remember John 5. But the second church was even more important to them. It's that one over there. Look behind you. This Crusader church is called St. Anne's Church. Anne who? The mother of Mother Mary. There is a Catholic tradition that speaks about, or talks about the birthplace of Mother Mary here on this side of town in Jerusalem. Again, it's a tradition. You'll never find that in the Gospels. Therefore, they built a basilica to honor Anne, the mother of Mary. This is one of the fewest Crusader churches to survive the Muslim recapture of the city of Jerusalem in the following century. Okay, and so the Muslims captured Jerusalem again, recaptured it in the 12th century, and instead of destroying it, they turned it into a madrasa. You know what a madrasa is? It's a theological seminary, an Islamic theological seminary or school. And up until, pretty much, in modern times, when it was finally handed over to the French, and you see the French flag over the roof. In fact, the custodians of this property today are members of the White Fathers Order. Okay, they're named that way because of their white garments. Now, the most important thing about that church, that's what made it so famous, is the amazing acoustics inside. Okay, and so why don't we go into the chapel, maybe sing a song or two.
And so how did they go about
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Start.
Want me to lead it?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Jim. Go for it.
Get up here. Wait. Carol.
See you, Pastor.